Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of The Danny Show. I'm your host, Daniel Cody, giving you commentary and reviews on all things wrestling. Before I get started on tonight's episode of NXT, I want to talk about something that's been really hitting the wrestling news lately. You've probably heard of a story about a man named Roger Jackson, who is the son of what I believe to be Rampage Jackson, UFC fighter, if I'm not mistaken. So apparently, somewhere on the independent circuit, he got into an altercation with someone named Psychotic Stew, something like that. And he hit him, Jackson, with a bottle. And so after a few minutes of talking, you can tell one of the wrestlers was Samoan because he said, "We got you, Us." And that's Samoan for brother. So one of the guys was backstage trying to calm him down because Jackson didn't respond to having a beer bottle hit over his head that had beer in it still, by the way. So he wasn't very pleased with that. So everyone's trying to say it's a shoe, it's part of the act. Apparently, he was not aware that this was part of the act. But they told him later on he would be a part of another act involving Psycho Stew, if I got their Psychotic Stew, if I got the name correct. But we'll just call him Stu, not to be confused with the cameraman who is John Cena's biggest fan. During a match or whatever was taking place in the arena, in their independent arena, Jackson was sitting in the audience when apparently it was his cue to go in and attack. However, when he went in to attack Psycho Stu, or Mr. Stu as we'll call him, so I don't say any names accidentally, we'll just call him Stu. We got in the ring, the man gives an overhead body slam to Stu and proceeds to go for some of the most excessive, brutal shots to the skull, and he's not blocking because apparently he's supposed to sit there scriptingly and act like he's out while he's getting hit. But Jackson went off, man. He just totally destroyed him. It was brutal, and a lot of people are saying that it was not supposed to go down like that. So I don't know if that beer can set him off. People are pretty angry in these days and times, so you have to be careful how you handle people. But at the same time, good gosh, that was not supposed to happen. And professionally, and due to the what was supposed to be unprofessional, a lot of the wrestlers from the independent scenes were upset. So let me know what you think about this. Do you feel like Roger was justified, or was he over the line? It seems like he was over the line. But let's talk about NXT. Ricky Saints is the number one contender for the NXT Championship and will be facing Obafemi. After having a pretty good match with Javon Evans, he threw Javon Evans. That was scripted. He wasn't really trying to kill him, unlike certain people. Javon Evans was thrown from the ring to the announce table this past Sunday. However, in this night, we saw those two face off after Ricky Saints had his match. Then Dark State comes to the ring and they get saved by Hank and Tank. Let me tell you what I found funny. It was funny when Lexis King and Miles Bourne went one-on-one in a blindfold match. The way Lexis King was fussing at the camera, thinking he was pointing at Miles when he was actually fighting the camera, was funny. It also reminded me of a time Triple H was in a blindfolded match many years ago on Monday Night Raw during the early days of the Ruthless Aggression era. That was hilarious. That also makes me think of Jake the Snake Roberts versus Rick Martel, WrestleMania 7, where The Undertaker made his WrestleMania debut. Some of you may remember that. But if you don't, check it out. It's funny. Fun to watch. Nonetheless, Lexis King, being the cheater that he is, cheated and won the match. And by the way, Lexis King does not remind me of his father. Lexis King, if you haven't heard me say this before, reminds me a lot of Chris Jericho. A young, bratty, heelish Chris Jericho, if you will. We saw Jada Parker backstage and Lash Legend going at it. They're going to fight next week. My money's on Parker. We saw a great mixed tag team match between Lola Vice, Sol Roca, happy birthday, and Zarya versus Fatal Influence. And one of the members of Fatal Influence is starting to have enough of being underlooked. But losing tonight doesn't help, although this was a great tag team match. Before I go, I want to talk about something that I found super hilarious. First off, we opened up the show with Ricky Saints, and when Ricky Saints called Josh Briggs Sid from Toy Story, that thing was hilarious. I might have to make a community post about that. But in any event, until next time, let me ask you another question. We asked about Roger Jackson, but I want to ask you another question. Even though Becky Lynch is supposed to be a heel, yesterday she alluded to Ozzy Osbourne's passing. Did she cross the line with the statement, or was that just heel work? By the way, who else thought for a second that Nikki Bella was talking about a C word that I cannot dare say? Unless you're subliminally saying see you in Texas. But in any event, let me know your thoughts in the comments below, what you think about tonight's episode of NXT, as well as thoughts on the independent show where Raja beat the living helicopter out of that gentleman named Stu. I think he might have went too far. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below about that. I'm your host, Daniel Cody, and I will see you next time.